Hey everybody, welcome to The Bottom Line. I'm Michael Noland. Tonight we're going to be asking a very important question. A question that has validity on both sides of the fence, if you ask me. And of course, that question is rock and roll dead? All right, guys, so first of all, I want to thank everybody that participated in my poll with that exact same question. If you haven't had a chance to respond to that, I'm going to leave it up beyond this video. But I asked the question, is rock and roll dead? And I gave two responses. Either you could answer yes, bury the damn thing, or no, there is still hope. So now keep that in mind. Over 1,300 of you responded to that poll. And at the time of recording this video, 81% of you have voted no. There's still hope, with 19% of you saying bury the damn thing. All right, so that's what I'm going to be addressing in this video. First of all, we're going to take the side of yes, indeed, rock and roll is dead, and why people who voted for that think so. Now, there is an abundance of evidence for this side of the argument. First of all, you've got classic rock bands touring, and they're not even the classic rock band that they're claiming to be. Foreigner and Kiss come to mind. Kiss, half of Kiss is not up there. They have two ringers, and they've had ringers before. And of course, Foreigner, with Mick Jones not even showing up anymore, really. There isn't an original member in that band. Now, this gets to the point of ticket prices. Ticket prices have gone sky high, and we have a host of people to blame for that. Ticketmaster, Live Nation, the artists themselves. We've covered that on this channel many times. And through all this nonsense, many artists' original fans can no longer afford to go and see them. Now think about this. A lot of these artists, original fans, are cutting back on going to concerts. I want to see Paul McCartney, but that means I'm gonna not see Jethro Tull this year. So who's paying for all of this? Younger fans. And what are they paying for? They're paying for the hits. They're paying often for the bragging rights. But it doesn't just stop there, folks. See, these bands that are on perpetual tour, they see absolutely no reason whatsoever to write new music, because that's not what the people who are paying to see them want to hear. They want to hear the glory days of rock and roll. So much so, by the way, that now the hot new ticket item are Avatar shows. We get to see dead Elvis perform right in front of us. Dead Tupac, and then he explodes in glitter. How ridiculous is that? And of course, ABBA and Kiss started it all. Shows like America's Got a Toilet, Britain's Got a Toilet, Zimbabwe's Got a Toilet, and American Idolatry pushes vocal shenanigans and acrobatics over actual artistic content. Of course, right along that same time, we got the Mickey Mouse Club and boy bands from the Mickey Mouse Club, girl artists from the Mickey Mouse Club, and friends of girl artists from the Mickey Mouse Club. But basically, these boy bands and these pop artists of the early 2000s through, I don't know, the mid 2000s, when they were really hot, were nothing but a corporate design. Not much better than an Avatar show. New bands who come along find it extremely difficult to get any kind of airplay and forget press. They're just not covered. Everybody seems to be impressed by that no talent Taylor Swift. Oh, and by the way, it's these new bands that are getting caught up in all of the hidden costs in order for them to even be able to play stadiums that Ticketmaster and Live Nation have set up. We've talked about that, again, like I said, on many videos on this channel. Which leads me to the biggest culprit of all of them, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and ragtag magazines like Rolling Stone magazine. Of course, Jan Winter and his ilk have their sticky little fingers in that, and they're part of the money behind that damn dome in Las Vegas. As an organization and a TV show, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has become a circus. And guess what? The clowns aren't even funny. Hip hop, rap have their tendrils into this organization, and you wonder why people like Missy Elliott and LL Cool J are even gracing us with their presence. And to the average fan, where are you hearing brand new music? On your car radio. Usually the only thing you can find are classic rock stations whose playlists are programmed by companies, and everywhere you go, the same old ilk is played on those stations. When older bands get a new album, those stations will play maybe 1 or 2 cuts for a week to 10 days, and then you never hear those cuts again. Of course, there is almost a media war going on as well. I have a current poll going on my channel right now. What is your favorite media to listen to music? You have people choosing to collect records, vinyl. You have people who say, no, CDs are fine. And there is an argument that, and I'm not talking about the loudness war CDs, but if a CD is put together, there is an argument that that truly is a superior recording, and that vinyl only warms it up through gentle distortion because of its electronics. And distortion's not a bad thing, folks. Distortion's all over rock and roll. So there's an argument to both sides of that. And of course, some people claiming to only listen to music digitally. The only problem with that is, generally speaking, with the possible exception of the just top 1 or 2% of artists are paid horribly for you streaming their music. They have to get a zillion views to make a penny practically. So there's my points on that side of the issue, and frankly, I was surprised not more of you voted that rock and roll is dead just because of those complaints alone. But on the other side of the coin, there are signs of life. First of all, no genre of music ever truly goes out of style. There was a time when barbershop quartets were hotter than hell, and don't tell me there aren't still barbershop quartets and doing it well, and even adding a different kind of angle to the whole approach. People are still listening to Mozart, Beethoven, Bach, and Vivaldi, and many others from a century, 2 centuries, even 3 centuries back. Most worthy genres get their day in the sunshine. There's no doubt about that. And then their time goes, but new generations of musicians go and refine it. We can see this in jazz. Jazz is a perfect example of that. There was a time when jazz was the #1 music listened to in America. It hasn't died. It's just not on every radio station anymore. And they've done some amazing things with it. I'm not a major jazz guy, right? But I love when jazz is kind of mixed in with a rock feel. That's kind of where I love the jazz feel. And frankly, I love good jazz guitarists. So rock and roll hasn't died. There's still brand new bands. You know, I have given a lot of time to 4 bands on this platform, haven't I? I've given kudos to a brand new band, and they're all within like 5 years with the exception of one. They're probably keying in on 10 years by now, but the first band I want to mention is Dorothy. All right, and their female lead singer is absolutely phenomenal. and they supply us with kick-ass rock and roll, much in the way that Janis Joplin used to. Then there's Rival Sons, and oh my God, and they actually have something really artistic to say. They have a political bent to them, just like some of the greatest artists out of the 60s. And then you guys know what I think of Dirty Honey. You know what? They're like a combination of the Stones, Black Crowes, and Bad Company. They, for that genre of band, put a whole lot of thinking into their melody, and you guys know what I think of that. It's always in the song. And of course, there's Greta Van Fleet. Now, I've seen Greta Van Fleet live. They're phenomenal. My only complaint that night was the lead guitar solos. From where I was sitting, I was in the balcony. I'm an old man now. My daughter, at the time, I think she was 21. She's 24 now, but she was down right in front of the stage. She made friends that she still writes to, right? Phenomenal evening. But besides the solos not being quite loud enough, I haven't seen a much better concert ever. They were top notch. And if I have any criticism of Greta Van Fleet, it's off of their latest last two outings, although they're still excellent albums, all right? But I think they should have stuck closer to that Zeppelin sound they have. Now, I know a lot of people out there will complain, they're just a Zeppelin clone. You know what? There is a ton of bands that were nothing more, if you're going to make that argument, than Beatle clones, all right? If you're really going to get down to it, a lot of people go Klaatu, of course, right? Because people even thought they were the Beatles. There's Badfinger, of course, ELO and Jeff Lynne, you know, he's made a career out of sounding like the Beatles, but they didn't get this kind of criticism. And the reason was, the Beatles kind of created a genre. Well, Led Zeppelin, as far as I'm concerned, created a freaking genre. They could not be, to this day can they be, pigeonholed into heavy metal, but that band is as heavy as any damned heavy metal band I've heard. They had their choice. You know, the Beatles had the Stones. They had major players playing against them. I mean, Led Zeppelin had to contend with acts such as ELP, Black Sabbath, Deep Purple. These guys were always nipping at their heels, and other bands like Uriah Heep were nipping at their heels. They were in the spotlight, firmly holding on to the 70s, just like the Beatles did in the 60s. But we haven't had that lately, have we? Yet we've got the talent, folks, and they're making new music. Now, another reason to believe that rock isn't dead, 2023 was a great year, not like the 60s where, good Lord, you could go into a record store one day, buy 3 or 4 great albums that just came out, go back 3 or 4 days later and have to choose from 3 or 4 other classic rock artists who just released their albums. It wasn't unheard of acts releasing 2 albums a year. For the Beatles, that was a rule. But 2023 gave us a brand new Metallica album. It gave us a brand new Jethro Tull album. It gave us a new Smashing Pumpkins album. How about a new Yes album? Or the closest thing to a brand new Bad Company album, the excellent album by Paul Rodgers' Midnight Rose. We got remixes from the Beatles and a brand new album from the freaking Rolling Stones. You know, 2023 at times looked more like 1968 than 2023. So new bands are out there, and they're touring, and they're writing new material, and older bands haven't given up the ghost, and they're writing brand new material. So there's the glimmer. There's that hope that the 81% of you voted on. All right, folks, just to let you know, there's a method to my madness why I released an older episode from Royce in the House here. It was my last video, right? And we started that video. We got into martial arts later on, but we started that video about discussing Magical Mystery Tour. You know, when I started this channel, I was going through all the Beatle albums, and I never finished that. So my next video will be on the whole album, magical mystery tour. And we're going to do a big, deep dive into that. Oh, and by the way, a thank you again to Royce and Bruce, as well as Helene and her husband, Helene Spalding, for your emotional support recently. You know, I have been going at 1,000 miles an hour on this channel for over 2 years, 2 years and 3 months actually, and I just kind of ran out of gas. You know, during that time, I had a surgery. Then my wife was very ill and in the hospital this past fall. And then the holidays came, and I gave myself a bit of a holiday. You saw me with videos where I didn't even show up. I even put out a couple of archive videos during that time, thinking I just needed a rest. I tell you, it just didn't come back. But the few kind words to me over the last 2 days has re-energized. So I'm not going part-time. I'm gonna stay the course. And you know, you guys are so freaking terrific. That's all I can say. I love to see you in the comments. And by the way, if you get to the comments and I don't heart you or whatever, that's usually because I'm already on to the next video. I put at least 4 hours on every video trying to answer. Often that means the early comments get answered and later comments. Every once in a while I'll see something hit across and I have the time and I'll hit the older ones. But if I don't get to your comment, folks, that doesn't mean that I'm not reading them, all right? And I've got a new policy. Every time I read, but I can't do it. So if you get a heart and a thumbs up on your comment, that means I've at least read it and could possibly be so busy I can't answer any questions or give you a direct response. But it's not just talking to me in the comments, folks. You guys are talking to each other. We do have a tribe here, all right? And as this channel grows, there's a voice, and things that we've talked about in this video right here can reach wider audiences, and we can demand more. So my final verdict is rock and roll dead as the predominant art form listened to by the young, the ones that pay more money for their music. I think it has. It's passed away. But as an art form, never. And I agree with the 81% of you. There is still hope that it could even become more predominantly available through media. But to bring it all back to the thumbnail you clicked on, my final verdict: rock and roll is dead. Long live rock and roll.